My name is Gary Hollis. I drive freight trucks across northern England. This is the story I don't tell people. Not because it sounds unbelievable. People will believe almost anything if you say it plainly enough. It's because the part that should scare you, most people miss it. They focus on the bridge, on the lights going out, on the drop into the gorge. But that's not where it started. It started with a question, and the mistake, the only mistake that mattered, was that I answered it. I'd been doing overnight runs for nearly 15 years. I preferred them. Less traffic, less noise. Just the road and the engine and whatever late-night radio you could catch between signal drops. That week, I'd volunteered for a collection job near Carlisle. Old branch office closing down. Pick up equipment, bring it south. Easy money. The delay was the problem. A large industrial copier didn't arrive until late afternoon, and by the time everything was loaded and secured, I was leaving just before 6 in the evening, which meant I'd hit the empty stretch, the long one with no towns, no services, sometime after 2 in the morning. I knew that road. There's a cattle grid about 3 miles in, a derelict farm on the left, and further on, about 15 miles north, a bridge, old stone, 2 lanes, no lights. I'd crossed it before, didn't like it, but it was just a road, so I kept driving. I pulled into the service stop at 2:45 a.m. Calling it a service stop is generous. Concrete pad. 2 pumps, a flickering overhead light, a vending machine bolted to a wall, toilet block that barely shut. No other vehicles when I arrived. I filled up, used the toilet, bought a coffee that tasted like wet cardboard, and headed back to the cab. That's when I saw the pickup. Dark, black or navy, parked right beside my truck, driver's side, close enough that I had to turn sideways to get past. I hadn't heard it arrive. The driver was already out, standing near the front of my cab, hands in his pockets, looking up at it like he was studying it. Big man, broad shoulders, waxed jacket. Middle-aged, maybe. Hard to place. He glanced at me and nodded. Long haul tonight? I said, yeah, heading south. He nodded again, looked back at the truck, then he asked, everything running all right with it? Casual, like asking about the weather. I said yes, didn't hesitate, didn't think about it, just answered. He held my gaze for a second longer than necessary, then nodded once, like something had been confirmed, got back into his pickup and drove off. No fuel, no purchase, no reason to be there, just the question. I stood there watching his taillights disappear, longer than I needed to. Then I got in the cab and left. 10 minutes later, my dashboard lights flickered. Just once. Quick. Everything looked fine. Gauges steady. Engine smooth. No warnings. I kept driving. Another 5 minutes. It happened again. This time longer. The headlights dimmed with it. Not off, but noticeably weaker for a couple seconds before snapping back. That was when I checked the mirror. Headlights behind me. Far back. Maybe half a mile. Low to the ground. Pickup height. They weren't gaining. They weren't falling back. They were holding the exact same distance. I watched them for a while. Too long. Then I adjusted the mirror and told myself it didn't mean anything. Roads have cars. But I kept checking. The lights flickered a 3rd time. Longer still. This time I slowed slightly, and the headlights behind me slowed too. Same distance. Exactly the same. That was the first moment something felt wrong. Not strange. Wrong. Like I'd stepped into something that was already in progress. I reached the bridge just after 3:15. You feel it before you see it. The road changes under the tires. Older stone, uneven. The air drops colder. No lights, no edges visible, just black space beyond the barriers. I was maybe a quarter of the way across when it happened. Everything went out, not dimmed, not flickered, off, headlights, dashboard, radio, complete darkness. The engine was still running, the truck was still moving, but I couldn't see anything. No road, no lines, nothing. My hand hit the dashboard without thinking, hard. The lights came back instantly, full brightness, like nothing had happened. I didn't slow down, didn't check anything. I just drove, straight ahead. Didn't look at the side, didn't look in the mirror. Just kept going until I was off that bridge and back on normal road. I didn't check the mirror until a few miles later. The pickup was still there, same distance, same steady speed. About 10 miles past the bridge, I saw a proper petrol station, fully lit, open, someone inside. I pulled in without turning the engine off, sat there for a moment, hands still on the wheel. Then I checked the mirror again. The pickup was turning in behind me. It didn't go to a pump. It rolled to a stop at the edge of the forecourt lights and shut off its headlights. Just sat there in the dark, watching. I got out and walked to the shop, kept my pace normal. The cashier was already looking out the window before I even reached the door. He asked if I was all right. I said yeah, just checking the road ahead. He nodded, then glanced past me toward the forecourt. Did that truck follow you in? He said it like it wasn't the first time he'd asked that. I said I wasn't sure. He just nodded and went back to his magazine. No concern, no surprise. Like it was something he recognized but didn't question anymore. A police car pulled in a minute later. Routine stop. I went outside and spoke to the officer. Just small talk, road conditions, weather. While we were talking, I glanced toward where the pickup had been. It was gone. No engine sound, no headlights, just gone. I finished the job the next morning and brought the truck straight back to the depot, had the mechanic go over everything. I told him exactly what happened. He checked the wiring, battery, alternator, fuse board, everything. Nothing wrong. No loose connections, no faults, no explanation. The truck stayed in service for years after that, without a single electrical issue. I didn't tell anyone for months. Then one night I mentioned it to another driver, Pete Calloway, been running those northern routes longer than I had. I kept it simple. Strange man, service stop, lights going out on the bridge. Pete listened without interrupting. When I finished, he asked one question. Did he ask if your truck was having trouble? I felt it then. That cold, specific feeling at the back of your neck. I said yes. Pete nodded slowly. The way someone nods when they already knew the answer, and it doesn't bring them any comfort. He finished his coffee, turned the mug in his hands once, then he said, yeah, some drivers run into him. He set the mug down. Most of them say their lights go out on the bridge. He didn't say anything else after that. I waited, but that was it. I've thought about that conversation more than I've thought about the bridge itself, honestly. The way he said some drivers, not that strange or you're not the first, just some drivers, like there was a category for it, like there was a list. I don't know who the man in the pickup was. I don't know what caused the lights to fail on a truck that was subsequently tested and found completely sound. I don't know what the cashier was watching for or why he asked his question the way he did. What I know is that my palm hit the dashboard and the lights came back. And I know that every time I think about those 2 seconds of complete darkness in the middle of that bridge, I think about the 40 meters of nothing below the wall to my right. And I think about the fact that if I hadn't hit the dashboard, if I had done what most people would do, pulled over, waited, climbed out to check under the hood, I would have been standing on that bridge in the dark, with a pickup truck half a mile behind me. Gary Hollis still drives freight, northern routes sometimes, though he requests alternatives when they come up, and nobody at the depot asks why. There is no official record of anything unusual on that road north of Carlisle that night. The bridge still stands. The service stop is still there. Same buzzing light, same vending machine. And somewhere on the stretch of road between that rest stop and that bridge, a man in a dark pickup truck still asks tired drivers a simple question. Everything running all right with your vehicle? He asks it the same way every time. Casual, conversational. And if you answer him, if you stop and think about it, if you nod and say yes, fine, all good, he gets back in his truck and he waits. He doesn't follow close. He doesn't rush. He just holds that same distance in your mirror for 15 miles, patient and unhurried, and he waits for the exact moment you're halfway across the bridge, for the lights to go out, for you to stop. So, if you're ever driving alone on an empty northern road before dawn, and someone pulls up beside you at a quiet service stop, takes no fuel, buys nothing, just looks at your vehicle and asks one question, don't answer it. Get back in the cab. Drive. We'll be back next week. Same day, at 3 a.m.